Hello everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. This video is the top 10 or my top 10 favorite movies of 2024. And I hope you all had a good 2024. I hope the start of your year has been going well so far, and I am glad to be back. So of course my list is going to be very much different than yours. I am not entirely set on how I necessarily choose or rank these films, and I wouldn't say, at least for the first or the back 10 or back 5, 6 through 10 aren't necessarily in order. Of course, the last 5 would be. I do consider the narrative, the story, acting, performance, technical aspects of things. I do put those into consideration. But in the end, it's how I feel about it, how it impacts me, and the entertainment value. I think entertainment is very important because how will I feel 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? Do I look back and think I'd want to watch that again, or I really enjoyed it, how it impacted me? Feel that I never consider what I think is the best movie as number one, just my favorite movie. And hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm sure the right people understand. So let's get to it. I do not want to take too much time on this. So let's start immediately with number 10. The Wild Robot. DreamWorks does very well at making movies that are heartwarming and that feel genuine and that don't feel like they're just making these for the sake of making you cry like the Pixar formula. This movie has quite a bit of themes and layers to it, or at least that's how it's interpreted from a lot of people, and even I like to think of it in that way. Although I would say that the main plot is pretty simple and straightforward as far as being a mother and being a parent. And I think that's good enough for this movie. But then it adds a bunch of other things that you can look at and think they mean a bunch of different things. The movie's funny, the movie's colorful, the right amount of color. It's not ridiculous like something such as Borderlands. At number 9, we have Rebel Ridge from the director that gave us Green Room, which is the only movie I've seen from him until Rebel Ridge. I did not know what Rebel Ridge was about. Watching it, it starts off right away where it needs to. The plot is pretty good. The story is pretty simple. It's grounded. There's nothing too crazy about it. It's pretty straightforward. You're following this character and you have fun. At number 8, we have The Adorable Thelma. This movie, I just really, really enjoyed this movie. It is sweet, heartwarming, grounded, simple, just straight to the point, and gives unexpected laughs. It does take time to build up to really get into the movie, but when you're in it, it really grips your heart. At number 7, we have Dee Dee, another heartwarming, simple, real-world, grounded story, coming of age, finding yourself, your identity, dealing with traversing the world or America as a minority, and figuring out who you are and what you like, and are you going to fall into what the world wants from you, or what you believe the world wants from you and expects from you, or into what you feel is right and what you want to do? And number 6, we have I Saw the TV Glow. Initially, this movie was pretty high on my list. I would say top 3, top 5 at least. And just as the time went on, it did get bumped, but that doesn't say anything bad about this movie. I really enjoyed this. The movie is shot very well. It's written very well. It has a lot of good elements that it implements to tell you the story of what's really going on and what's happening, instead of being very expository and relying on simply dialogue to tell you what's going on. And so it makes the movie much more interesting, and it has some surreal elements. It can be potentially campy as well. Now we go into the top 5, and these I would say are in this order. At number 5, we have Strange Darling. Wow, this movie's great. I've seen this movie maybe 4 times now. Probably most of these movies in my top 5 I've seen quite a few times. This movie, I think, is very straightforward. It is short. It is sweet. I love a good thriller. I love a good cat and mouse story. This was that. I realized I have like the physical copies of my favorite movies, except Strange Darling, unfortunately. I'm still looking for it. I did find a DVD of it, but I'm looking for the Blu-ray. This, by the way, is I Saw the TV Glow, right? So of my top 6, I'm only missing 1. And hopefully I can find it. But anyway, at number 4, we have Longlegs. This movie I saw maybe 4 times in theaters, and then I saw it 2 more times in the comfort of my home. I showed my mom and my aunt the movie. They absolutely loved it. They thought it was pretty frightening. I think the movie's pretty scary. The story is not flawless, especially near the end. It kind of can come off a bit underwhelming, but for me, I very much appreciated the feeling of it. For me, what makes things scary or horrifying is the feeling it gives you, the eeriness. The performance by Micah Monroe is great. I like the way she plays this socially awkward character who is probably good at her job, but not good with connecting with other people, which explains why she lives alone and isolated away from the city and society, and why she probably hasn't been in a relationship for a while, and just a collection of things. All right, for number 3, we have Alien Romulus. The Alien movies are, for the most part, predictable. You know what to expect. You know what's going to happen. So the entertainment is the journey, and seeing how do we get from point A to point B, what happens to each character to get to that point, what's the environment look like, what's the setup look like, and overall, it's something, if it's not broken, do not fix it. We know someone's going to get a hugger on them, that an alien's going to come out and it's going to kill most of the crew. Maybe people survive, maybe they don't. They're going to sacrifice the ship, or a ship's going to get destroyed. Something's going to get destroyed to destroy this alien. Something will happen, and maybe it leads up to a sequel, maybe it does not. Pretty much all Alien movies are this way, and some people may not like that. Personally, I'm always entertained with these movies. Fede Alvarez is also a very good director and storyteller. I really enjoyed Don't Breathe. I really enjoyed his The Evil Dead remake, or it's just called Evil Dead. Now, when it comes to the top 2, these were difficult. These switched back and forth a bit, but I will say what ended up being number 1 for me was number 1 originally, but watching the other one, number 2, it kept swapping back and forth. Anyway, for number 2, and I was surprised I even found this movie, like a physical copy, but once I did, there was no question. I wasn't thinking I'm gonna come back later. It was, I'm gonna buy this, and that is, there goes that truck ruining my reveal, Love Lies Bleeding. This movie is a lot of fun, a very good story about love, about drama, being in a small town, corruption, crime, and weightlifting. Anyway, we're now at number 1, and for those of you who know me, know what this is going to be. This movie, we have a directorial and maybe a writing debut for this person, and he wrote, directed, and led the movie, and it was they were dropped by Netflix. Jordan Peele picked it up. I love Jordan Peele and his his support for all diverse voices and underrepresented people to tell their stories. And this movie is unapologetically Indian. Monkey. Dev Patel is one of my favorite actors working right now. Probably ever, actually. He's in my top 10 of ever when it comes to actors. This movie is so much fun. I think if you remove the suits, people wouldn't be comparing it to John Wick. And that's my issue with this comparison to John Wick, is that I don't think because they are in suits, they are comparing it to John Wick. When I think there's nothing else to compare it, I mean, aside from the revenge aspect, but I don't think that would have came to mind unless, they were in suits. That aside, I would say this movie, for me, as far as the grittiness and how dirty it can get and how real it can get or feel, is more attuned to Old Boy, the good Old Boy, not Spike Lee's. I think this movie is something I will go back to a year from now, 2 years from now, and very much appreciate it for what it is. Plus, it's very inspirational. Dev Patel, who's been in the industry for quite a while, and because of how he looks, has not been given enough opportunities. And when he's given opportunities, he's praised for them, for how great of an actor he is, how great he's able to lead something, but then nothing comes from that. And here he's able to prove, not only can I act, I can direct, I can write and tell a really compelling story. And that's how we got Monkey Man. Anyway, that's my top 10. I am curious to see what your top 10 is. If you haven't seen any of these movies, I'd recommend you check them out, at least, the top 5. If you guys do find Strange Darling on Blu-ray, feel free to send it my way. Until next time, y'all take care of each other. Check up on one another. Make sure you check up on yourself. And remember, potential has no limit.